people that see.
Just do it on your computer, Jude. Don't.
Where?
People were able to watch it on YouTube like I did when I was out of town October 3rd. So just saying. I know one more is coming because my husband's coming. He's going to be upstairs.
This looks amazing. Contents of her cedar-lined closet.
I'm going to give it one more minute if you don't mind. I'm going to start now, if that's okay. All right. I am so pleased to be able to present our two speakers from Habitat for Humanity. There's Lynn Bowley. Am I saying it right, Bowley? I'm sorry.
Bowley.
Yes, and Kristen Williams. And they will discuss Habitat's mission and goals, the need and importance for affordable housing in our community using local and statewide data, and what programs we offer locally, what a typical build looks like, which I'm very interested in, and our partner family, Sara and her 3 children. Also, I think it's important that would be ongoing would be volunteer opportunities for us and for the youth in our church community. I'm going to start with Lynn. She is the executive director. She joined Habitat as a Women Build volunteer in 2011, just when I was there also, followed by 6 years of service on the board of directors as vice chair. In addition, she's been a volunteer on the Builder Batch Committee since its inception in 2015. In October 2017, Lynn stepped away from the practice law at Taylor and Bowley to lead Habitat as its executive director, and we certainly are glad she did. Lynn says that when she left her law practice 3 years ago, she never imagined that a job could be this fulfilling. She's excited to see what's next on Habitat's horizon as we work together to build a better world. I think that says it all. Kristen is the Director of Development, Kristen Williams, for Charleston's Habitat. He joined the crew in early 2018 and for over a decade has assisted nonprofits of all sizes in their fundraising efforts, as well as served on several nonprofit boards. Kristen feels that getting to know our future homeowners and raising the funds that literally build homes and forever change lives is the most rewarding experience yet. And her quote is, "I love welcoming new families to the fold and sharing their stories with the world." I think these are both beautiful introductions we've been sharing. Okay, so I had shared with Lynn and Kristen that we do a presentation for 20 to 25 minutes, and then you folks are encouraged to ask questions in the chat. You can do it during the presentation or afterwards. So we'll have 15 minutes for Q&A. So without further ado, you guys are on.
Thank you so much. We're so happy to be here this morning to talk about something that means so much to us, and that is affordable housing in the Charleston community. The need for affordable housing in our immediate area is intense. And so I'm going to start by telling you what Charleston Habitat does and how we do it, and then we'll go into some of the statistics about why we do what we do. First off, Charleston Habitat is one of 5 local Habitat affiliates. We all sort of are satellites of the mothership, Habitat for Humanity International, and we do the same mission in slightly different ways. We're all independent. And what we do is we build affordable housing and we sell it to families that earn between 35 and 60% of the area median income. And a lot of people think that we give away houses, and that's not what Habitat does. We sell them at a 0 interest mortgage, which means that all of the money that they pay goes to either principal or escrow. And while the average rental for a 1-bedroom apartment in Charleston is between $1,600 and $1,700, our mortgages are about $500. So that's a huge difference for families who are in that lower income bracket. So for a family of 4, that income bracket is $28,735 to $49,260. So if you can imagine 4 people trying to live on that income, you start to see how many terrible choices those families are having to make every month. I mean, you just talk about your power bill alone, and that sucks up all that extra income right there for the month. So releasing some of the money that's being spent on housing to be able to divert that to the family's other needs, like medication and healthy snacks, a reliable vehicle. Those are all really, really important things for a family's health and well-being. And those are the things that get sort of a shaft because you have to have some place to live. So our application process is really intense, as you might imagine. We usually have between 30 and 100 applicants each time we open our application process, and we accept 2. So there's a glimmer right there of how many families are in need of the housing that we're providing. It's almost as intense as a bank mortgage in a lot of ways, because we do hold the mortgage. It's an official mortgage, just like a bank mortgage. So we do have some flexibility so that we don't have a minimum credit score. We can look at the whole person and say, wow, it's obvious that something happened in 2018 and sort of knock that family off the tracks. And it can be something so simple as an alternator going out, $600, and that's your whole savings, and you have no buffer to make those bills on time. And that can really impact a credit report. And a lot of families who are in this lower income bracket, they depend on credit in order to make ends meet every single month. One of the things that surprised me the most were the jobs that people were working and still earning below that 60% area median income. So first responders, first-year teachers, pretty much everyone in the medical profession who is not a doctor or a nurse or a physician assistant, all of the people that you see at the hospital, the people who take your blood, the people who do your insurance, all of those folks, they make below 60% of the area median income. And you add in stay-at-home mom with 2 little kids, and you're right there. You're right in our demographic. One of our partner families worked at the same job in dialysis at the same clinic for 20 years and never made it above the 60th percentile in the area median income. So these are hardworking families that we're selecting, and they're just the stress on their monthly finances prevents them from getting ahead. And that's why this piece is so important, because affordable homeownership it's transformational for a family for generations. The money that they were spending on rent for substandard housing, some of our families have active termites, leaks. We've had a partner family who had electrical fires in her circuit box. And she said she slept for the last 5 years with one eye open all the time so that she would be able to get her and her son out of their place, if the sparks were to ignite into a fire.
And that same homeowner, Tina, she there were sewage issues in their home, and so it would like overflow into their entire living space, and so they would have to evacuate for a week or 2 at a time just for that to be remediated, and then she would come back, and of course there was a stench that never went away.
Right, and so the landlord would clean up but not fix the actual problem, so it was always going to recur for her and her family. So now she lives in a beautiful house, brand new, that we built in North Charleston for her and her son. And every month she sends us a thank you note. It's a card, it's a funny picture that she cut out, just to remind us that she's still very thankful for everything that has happened in her life. Kristen, you want to talk about some of the numbers?
Sure.
Yeah.
So obviously it's very expensive to live in Charleston. We all know this. And so to be able to live in an area that's close by work, but also has good schools for some of the folks in our community, that's just not a possibility. And then they're also in a food desert. There's not a grocery store within walking distance of where they live or within a short drive. A minimum wage worker in the Charleston, North Charleston metro service area would have to work 110 hours a week to afford a 1-bedroom apartment. So when you think about the normal work week is 40 hours, which for some people, who have that luxury of 40 hours a week. So if you're making minimum wage to afford something that's not going to cause harm to you and your family, not going to have electrical fires, all of those things, you have to work 110 hours a week. So that leaves you no time to spend with your kids to help with homework. And so then your kids fall behind in school, or you're living, somewhere that's definitely substandard. And so your kids have asthma issues, which, there's healthcare issues, and then that limits their ability to pay attention in class and make good grades and move on to the next level. So the need is just extensive. So the housing wage, or what people would have to earn for rent, to be only 30% of their total income. So if you're spending more than 30% of your income on housing, your housing cost burdened. But so what people would have to earn to only spend 30% of their total income on rent is short $7.01 per hour. So those folks are not even coming close to making what they need. And so many folks work 2 or 3 jobs. One of the things we've mentioned, Tina and Dakota, Tina had 2 jobs. And the first thing that she did when she got her Habitat home was quit one of those jobs that she was doing, cleaning the gym where she, I guess she had a friend who was a member there that she would go with sometimes. And so she cleaned the gym in the evenings, and that was just extra income for them. And so that's the first thing she did, was quit that job so that she could spend more time at home with Dakota. And so there's just so many of those stories that we hear. Even someone working in retail would have to spend 78% of their income to rent a 2-bedroom apartment for just $15.30 a month. So there's just so many, so many other things in their lives that are affected by, the rising cost in housing. If they need to work, if something happens to their car, it has to be fixed, and it's, a $200 bill. That $200 exceeds their excess in income that month. Then they can't get to work. They can't get their kids to school, and things just snowball for that family.
One of the important things to keep in mind is that everything is interconnected. So like Kristen was saying, in order to afford the housing, you'd have to work 110 hours a week. Well, so obviously that's not possible. So what happens is you end up moving all the way out into the furthest outskirts of the city limits, or into, Goose Creek is a little bit less expensive to live, Allendale. And then you have to have a more dependable vehicle because there's no bus service. So, it's often an unequal trade for how you're going to get from point A to point B. And a lot of folks are ending up taking out these sketchy loans for, cars that maybe are not the best, but that's what they can afford, and that's who will give them credit.
Or at really high interest rates. So they're going to be paying off that used vehicle, $10,000 vehicle for 30 years.
Right. So when we do our assessment for our homeowners, we look at their credit report, of course, because we do want to see a trend of being able to pay those bills on time. Not everyone is ready for homeownership just because they are in that income bracket that we serve. We're looking for folks who are being as conscientious and responsible as they possibly can with those limited resources. We also, because we're Habitat, we do a criminal records check. We do a sex offender registry check. We do an OFAC, no-fly, possible terrorist check. We expect this family to be in partnership with us for 30 years during the term of the mortgage. And so while we can't crystal ball the future, we can certainly pick the people who at this point in time are a snapshot of what we're looking for, a family that we can really affect a meaningful and lasting change in their lives. So once we select that partner family, we call it sweat equity. So a single homeowner would do 400 hours of sweat equity. And what that means is they would come in and they start by volunteering in our Restore, which is our thrift store where we take in donated furniture and we sell that to raise funds for our mission. So they volunteer there, and then eventually they start volunteering on a house for someone who's ahead of them in the program. And finally, they are volunteering on their own house, helping to build their own house, and the people coming behind them in the program are helping them. So it's kind of a pay it forward. There's a great community element to our model, which allows those homeowners who, for the most part, have never owned, our homeowners have never owned a home. This is a first-time home buyers program, but often their family has never owned a home. They were always in rental with their parents or their grandparents. So they don't have a lot of experience in what it means to be a homeowner. We do financial classes so that they are as prepared as possible for this next new adventure. They learn about budgeting. They learn about the challenges of homeownership on a bigger scale, on the future scale, where they're taught about how to save for those things. That air conditioner, it's not going to last for the life of your house. It's a 20-year thing if you're lucky. So, you need to be putting away a few dollars every month for those bigger ticket items, because there is no maintenance guy to call anymore, when you have something that's broken.
But by doing the sweat equity too, some of those smaller repairs they've learned and have the skills now to do on their own. For some folks, they've never even changed a light bulb before because they've had a rental, and so they've had a landlord that does all of those things periodically, or change their air filters, or know when to change those kinds of things. So they're given a notebook that has all of those details, and we're actually in a new partnership with a local group called Building Badasses, excuse me, but that's what they call themselves. So it's a group of women who are in the construction field throughout the region, and they lead courses on home maintenance and repairs and DIY stuff. And so they're going to be doing some a full day course with our current homeowners, so they can learn some of these extra, or just a reminder, you know, for a lot of our homeowners, it's been 20 years since they've gone through the program. And some things have changed, and some things they've forgotten. And so it's a refresher for them to remember how to do those things. And they'll be given a calendar that says, you know, every month, these are the things you need to do to maintain your home, you know, every quarter, every, you know, year, those kinds of things. So we're really excited about that partnership. So we partner with so many groups like that in the community that
enrich.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the word. Yeah, I was going there.
Yeah.
We do this all the time. So it enhances what we are already doing, but just adds a little something extra for those homeowners. And I did see a question pop up, but I'm sure it probably. Do the cities, counties provide any tax incentives to encourage and facilitate the work of Habitat and the homeowner?
So we don't get a lot of tax incentives, but we do get some benefits from the city for affordable housing. They will waive our permit fees, or you know, help us with the process. Right now, we're building downtown for the first time in 10 or 11 years. Property downtown is, as you can imagine, super expensive. And so it's very rare that we are fortunate enough to have a lot within the city limits, especially like on the peninsula, to build. So the city of Charleston has been extremely helpful in getting us through the process of BAR approval, and they've granted some funds to us for the increased expense that it will entail to build downtown because of the restrictions of the BAR. So we have to use a much larger size window than we would normally use. We have to use a certain type of shingles. We have to have a much larger door than we would normally use. We have to use hardy plank siding instead of vinyl siding. So all of those things combine to make this particular build a lot more expensive. So the city has been excellent as far as partnering that way. I think that answers the question.
And we, I did want to point out, as Lynn was talking about, so that the home that we're building now on the peninsula is for Alex and her son Forrest. And so before COVID, it cost us about $95,000 to build a home. Alex's home, because of the requirements of where it is, it's going to cost us $220,000. And so we were able to get, so to not make our costs go up throughout COVID, we have some great vendors that are donating materials and things like that. And it does cost a little more. It has to be outfitted for ADA compliance because her son Forrest was born with only one limb, a right arm and two partial fingers. So he has a wheelchair. And he's only 4. So as he grows, his wheelchair will grow, his needs will grow. So that home will grow with them. And then we'll have a wheelchair lift, which added about $15,000 or so to that build. But a typical build for us beyond Alex, but Alex's was very different. So it was $95,000 before COVID. And now it's Sara's house, which is the first one that we'll be doing, except for Alex's, in our normal in North Charleston, in our typical building cycle is about $150,000. So that's a $55,000 increase just because of COVID, because of the high price hikes for lumber and other materials. We have great vendors and subs that we use for drywall and other things that throughout COVID we're like, we just can't give you we don't feel right about increasing the cost right now. So we'll just eat those. I mean, it was thousands of dollars. So we'll eat that for to finish Olga's house and to do Alex's. But now it's kind of like, now they can't continue to do that. So, and they were already giving us great rates anyway. So now some of those are going to be a little more expensive for Sara's build. So I'll just talk about Sara. So thanks to you all, through the social justice mini grant, we're receiving funds for Sara. So Sara is a single mom. She has 3 children, Jamal, who's 14, Riley, who's 6, and Eliana, who's 4. So Sara was previously a CNA, and then she just, cleaning was her outlet. She loves to organize, and I think, like me, she's very much a Monica, if you watch Friends and get that reference. So she enjoyed that so much, and she kind of, her friends were like, oh, can you help me do this? Or, you know, she started to kind of build a client base, not really in meaning to, and then decided to open her own business. So she is a female small business owner. And obviously her business also suffered a little during COVID. She had some car troubles, so she lost one client because of that. And then just with COVID, people were just like, you know, we'll just hold off for a little while and then we'll get you to come back. And so they're slowly bringing her back. But that's a struggle for her when she's the sole provider for her 3 children. Sara was a teen mom, so she was only 13 when she had Jamal. And so she says that, you know, Jamal is, you know, the most important person in her life, and he changed her. She was on a path that she was not proud of, and he made her, you know, think about the person that she wanted to be, and the kind of mother that she wanted to be, and he changed her life. And so she was a part of the Jefferson Awards Leadership Program. She was went to RV Stall High School in North Charleston, and so through that program, she was with other teen moms, and they actually, when they built the new school, because of some of the concerns and things that Sara brought up through that program, they decided that they would have childcare during the day so that teen moms like her could continue to go to class and not have to miss school when they're, you know, for every little thing, or because the babysitter or her mom couldn't be off of work that day to stay home with Jamal so that she could get an education. So Sara was once homeless. Now they currently live in Section 8 housing. She's, Lynn mentioned the floors peeling, the active termites in the walls. We just went, Preston, who is our construction site superintendent, and I, we always do videos of the homeowners and letting them tell their stories. And so we did Sara's last week. And so we walked through her home, and you can see so much personality and her personality in their home and the kids, but there are these big issues, and there's certain things that they can't do and things that make them not feel safe in their neighborhood. There's nowhere for the kids to play outside. Their outside is basically a parking lot, and they live sort of on the outskirts of downtown. So they can't just go walk around or kind of do what they want. And so they're really excited about having a place that is theirs with a fenced in backyard where they can have birthday parties and you know, have their family over for cookouts and things like that, that we, you know, memories that we treasure so much when we were growing up, and what our childhoods looked like. You know, we can create that for Sara and for her 3 children. So we do currently only build single family houses. Lynn and I have big dreams, and we want to do a tiny home neighborhood so that we can serve those families or single people who are 35% and below the area median income. We had looked a few years ago. There was a large plot of land that would have been a cul-de-sac, and we were going to do duplexes. But of course, that was bought right out from under us from a developer. So to find, we'd love to do more things like that, but to find land has been a struggle. We've been looking for land for 5 years, and you know, we wouldn't have land if it weren't the city of Charleston donated Alex's lot to us. Sara's home, and then the next partner family, LaToya, their lots will be side by side on Redwood in North Charleston. But that's through a partnership with the Community First Land Trust. So they will, that's the model we're moving towards right now because of land, is they will continue to own the land. We have a land lease, and Sara and our partner families will own the homes. So that will keep them affordable because we can't pass on the cost of land to our homeowners. So currently we only build single family houses, but we have big dreams and hopes so if you know anyone who has land who would like to donate or give it to us at a reduced rate, please send them our way.
Thank you, thank you. I think we've exhausted the time for the presentation. We've had some questions, but I encourage everybody to put questions in the chat now. I want you to talk about, I'll start. I want you to talk about volunteer opportunities for Sarah's house for our congregation.
Yes, so we allow volunteers basically from start to finish on our home builds. That is how we do what we do. That's how we're able to do it affordably. So the cost of our home, so when we say it's going to cost us $150,000 to build Sarah's home, that is the cost of materials and the little subcontract labor we do have to have and the permits and all of those things, but it does not include the volunteer labor. So they're not having to pay for these other people to come in and build their home. Otherwise it would be twice as much. So volunteers are what allow us to do what we do and help change lives. And so we basically from start to finish allow volunteers. So volunteers 18 and up, pretty much any time can help with it. And, we'll help with laying block for the foundation, installing the floor system, the wall, putting up the walls and framing, roofing, landscaping, painting and trim work, installing the kitchen appliances and cabinets and countertops, all of those things.
And that sounds really overwhelming, but it's not like you come and you have to know how to do anything. You literally show up with your big open heart and they will tell you exactly what your task is for the day. And maybe it's just, you're going to put in this window and this is how it's going to be done. Or you're going to be installing siding and here's how it is. I'm going to show you how to do it. So the bites of each task are so small that it's totally doable. Even for someone like me, I had zero construction experience and I started out up on the roof and they said, put 5 nails in this, do it in this pattern and do it right there. And I was like, okay, I can do that. So you don't have to have your own tools. You don't have to have any knowledge ahead of time, just a willingness to do what it takes. And also at the beginning of each shift, they do a little safety talk and an instructional talk. And if there are things that you are not comfortable doing, like some people don't like to be on ladders, or some people are not comfortable with heights or lifting a certain amount, then they will accommodate that and make sure that there is a meaningful task that you can complete during that shift.
Yeah, and so go ahead.
I'm just wondering if we wanted to get a group together, what would be the process? Would we contact Lynn, Kristen, or just show up?
So do not just show up. Our construction crew will kill us. So they're like, oh, Kristen said we could just show up to site today to build. And David will call me, what did you do? That may or may not have happened once or twice. So we have everything is online. So we have online registration. So we have not opened up the volunteer opportunities yet for Sarah's, but we will. We'll add her to the calendar. So I can send out all the information. And I'll put I guess Danielle or Maureen in contact with Kinsey, who is our volunteer coordinator. So we typically build Wednesday through Saturday. You can do a full day, but they're broken into shifts, AM and PM, 8:30 to noon. A lunch break from 12 to 12:30 and then 12:30 to 4. And so that at the beginning of each shift, they go through the tasks and you get that orientation Lynn mentioned, because some of the tasks may be different in the afternoon versus the morning. But it's all online. So we have a volunteer calendar so you can look at the available opportunities in the shifts.
15 people.
Yeah, 15 people per shift. So if you have a group that wants to do the whole day, we could do 15 people all day. If you want to be able to serve more, we can do 15 in the morning and then switch groups for the afternoon to have 30 people for a day. But we can send all the links for that. It's very, very simple, very straightforward. We've really got it down to make it easy to navigate for volunteers and people who are interested. But we can certainly, Kinsey can help guide you through that. If there's a particular day you're looking at, we can go ahead and hold it, because we only open the calendar up 3 months in advance. Because, you know, if somebody registered for a shift 6 months out, the likelihood they're actually going to show up for that shift, you know, by then they've probably forgotten. So we do 3 months out. But we expect to be able to have volunteer opportunities on Sara's house in January through June. And we're hoping to finish the home by the end of June.
Wonderful. Any more questions, folks?
Do we have volunteer? I see there's a few. Do we have volunteers who have experience as contractors? Yes, we love those volunteers. Our construction crew loves volunteers who know what they're doing. They're used to working with people who don't, but they really enjoy. We have Harkins Builders is a great partner of ours, and they come and volunteer. We have some other corporate groups that come monthly, so they may not have experience, but they really pick it up quickly and are able to be extremely helpful on the construction site. We have a small crew of volunteers who come weekly, so they have special training to be able to lead groups as well. And we can have youth. I know, Diane, you mentioned having youth. So a typical, 18 and up anytime, 16 to 18, pretty much anytime. They just aren't allowed to be on ladders or use power tools. And then towards the end of the build, when we're doing painting and the landscaping and things like that, that we won't have power tools on site. We can have 12 to 15-year-olds. But there's some guidelines, and we have all of those broken out online as well on our registration page. So we just have to have, there's an online waiver that we require of every volunteer. When they're underage, they have to also, even though it's online, they have to also print it out and have their parents sign it and bring it to site. And 12 to 15-year-olds can only be on site with a parent or guardian.
Okay, thank you. I want to ask each of you to share your dream vision for Habitat as we go forward with your good work.
Oh, good luck. Don't say you start. So Lynn and I are dreamers. We have big imaginations. We have, I think for both of us, I've always worked in the nonprofit sector my entire career, so 15 years now, but for different organizations, some large, some small. I have, like, we always joke, it's like we drank the Kool-Aid. Like, Habitat is just, especially because we're smaller, and so we're building around 4 houses a year. We get to know our partner families so well. I mean, they're all on my phones. We text each other pictures. I still text Tina to see how Dakota's doing, because he's in community college now and loves construction so much, helping with the sweat equity hours, that's what he's getting a degree in. So I would see, I mean, we would love to serve, we'd love to build 20 houses a year. I think that's
exactly what I was like, 20. I want to do 20.
We do our strategic planning together, so I think our answer will be very similar. But yeah, we're visionaries, so there's like no limit on what we feel like we can do, and we have such a strong,
great team.
We have a great leader, and we have a great team that we just love each other, and Lynn has built the team. None of us that are here now were here when she started 4 years ago, but I don't think any of us are going anywhere either. I know our construction manager, David, was her first hire, followed by myself. And I can't imagine doing anything else and helping, more families. And I think too, strengthening our repair program. We do a good bit of repairs. When I first started, we didn't really have much of a repair program. And now, Lynn's really pushed for this partnership with the city of Charleston repair program. And so we do about 20 houses with them a year. And then we have some funding. We're going to be doing some repairs in the Liberty Hill community in North Charleston for some senior citizens in that community. We received the Facebook grant for sustaining Black communities through the Coastal Community Foundation. We were one of a few organizations. We were very excited about that grant. And so that's funding that Liberty Hill repair program. So there's like Liberty Hill, things that may not be on our radar. And then someone will come to us and say, hey, would you partner with us? Would you help us do X, Y, and Z? And so we find a way.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. And I mean, I think one of the Habitat slogans is, everyone deserves a decent place to live. So I hate that. And I'm going to tell you why. Decent to me has almost a negative connotation, like, oh, it's good enough. And, you know, our houses are so much better than just good enough. And just because you earn between 35 and 60% of the area median income does not mean that you deserve any less of a beautiful, safe, affordable home. It may be a lot smaller than what we're used to in, you know, in some of the communities in which we live or have lived, but there's no reason that you should live with raw sewage or electrical fires or, you know, termites, mold, all of those things that these folks are having to live with. So I don't like the word decent, but our vision is that everyone should have a safe, affordable place to live. And, you know, we give a hand up and not a handout. Not everyone is ready for our program. Not everyone should be a homeowner. But for those who are ready and who are being held down by their income or their education or their job experience, we want to be there to be that boost, the wind beneath their wings, and help them, you know, to soar.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I want to put a plug in for our Habitat for Humanity opportunity to support this wonderful work. When we go to the church service, there'll be something on your screen that will be called Breeze. It's our donation challenges for either your giving Share the Plate, or in this case, you can also make a donation just to Habitat for Humanity, as well as your pledge. So that'll be coming up in the church service, and I encourage all of you to be generous. We so appreciate the good work you're doing, Lynn and Kristen, and Sally Forth. This is good. You're doing great work. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us here today and letting us talk about this mission that's so important to us.
And if you have questions after, I know things always come up later, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to answer more questions. We have some other materials and things that we can share as well.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Have a good day.